guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan, and in this video we're going to be taking a look back at some of the rookie quarterbacks from last year, so the guys drafted in 2019, and kind of look back and reevaluate them, kind of regrade, re-look at, just kind of see, okay, a year after they got drafted, a little more than that, what do we think? So, who'd like to start us off?
I guess we could just start off with the number one pick, that being Kyler Murray going to the Cardinals. I know there are very mixed emotions at this table about Kyler Murray. Tyler is a guy who's more high on Kyler Murray. I'm sort of in the middle, and Ryan despises the name of Kyler Murray, I guess you could say. Ryan, you could tell me that statement is true when your turn comes up. But let's start with right in the middle of all that. I think Kyler Murray is a decent quarterback. I think that obviously, if you watch his game, he is more of a running quarterback and more of a mobile quarterback. He's not as much as Lamar Jackson is. He does throw a decent amount more, but he does run a decent amount more. He won the Rookie of the Year award, Offense Rookie of the Year award, undeservingly. Just going to say he should not have won that award. It should have gone to somebody else. But unfortunately for all NFL fans, he won it, unless you're a fan of Kyler Murray. Which, I don't know, unless you're a Cardinals fan. But I don't think that he should have won that award. But still, he was still a good rookie. I think he had a good rookie season. I'm going to say coming into this next year, I think he's got some good weapons around him. He's got DeAndre Hopkins. He's still got the ageless man, Larry Fitzgerald, there to play with. So he's got some good people to throw to. Got some running backs as well, although they did lose David Johnson, but David Johnson was hurt all of last year anyways. Yeah. So, but I think he's going to have a decent second year. So with that being said, I'm sure they'll have more opinions, so you probably don't want to listen to me anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be all around. So after this video, if you're not sure what to think of Kyler Murray, we're just going to confuse you more. Because we have very varying opinions of the man. I don't think he should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he was the best rookie quarterback this year. He had good stats. He had 3,722 yards and 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in his first year. That's not too bad. He did play more games than any other rookie quarterback, so it is going to be kind of tough to evaluate and compare these guys. But a lot of them didn't play as many. Daniel Jones played 13. Dwayne Haskins played 9. And Drew Lock played 5, so we'll get to them in a second. But Ryan, please tell us your opinions on Kyler Murray, and this might take a while.
Well, yeah, it might take a while, but I'll try and keep it short. Feel free to interrupt, because you know how I am when I, go on my long rants. But, the reason I wasn't high on Kyler Murray coming out of the draft and really still I'm really still not high on him now. It's more of a long-term thing. Yes, he did good this year, but as far as long-term being a franchise quarterback, with him and with quarterbacks with a similar skill set as him, I think they could work great in the college game, but as far as in the NFL, I just don't think so. I think it was just absurd that the Cardinals did the whole thing where they traded Josh Rosen, who had virtually no weapons on offense the year he played with Arizona. They were the worst team in the league. He had no help, no offensive line, very few receivers, and just a not really good team overall, and a coach who got, fired after 1 year in Steve Wilkes. So I don't agree with the whole, let's trade the guy we just drafted last year's thing, but hey, that's okay, Cliff.
Kyler Murray has proven to be a better quarterback than Josh Rosen has in that system, so.
Well,
it proves to be a
it's not the same
move.
System, though. It's not the same system.
It's the same
different approaches, different teams.
It's a completely different system.
Yeah, but Josh Rosen wouldn't fit in that system. So if we saw that, it might look even worse than his rookie season was.
It just comes down to the argument: should Cliff Kingsbury have been hired? But
they were turning themselves around. They had a good draft this year as well. This Cardinals team, I know they're in a tough division, but
there's definitely some hype around the Cardinals team.
There should be.
Yeah, and, I think after, I'm going to say acquiring, because I don't think trade is the right word, after acquiring DeAndre Hopkins, I think that offense will be better, and I think that Kyler Murray will do great things with him. But I think that you just look at one word, and I said this in the Ravens video about Lamar Jackson, because they have Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, very similar skill sets. I know, Jordan, you mentioned Lamar Jackson's name.
Next MVP, Kyler Murray.
Talking about him. What was that?
Next MVP, Kyler Murray. We saw it with Lamar. It would be very similar.
Well, no. It's the same thing for both of them because they might have a good year or two, but as far as being a long-term successful starter in the league, I just don't think so. I don't think those types of quarterbacks. I know it's weird to say don't play the game the right way because they both did great. Obviously, Kyler not nearly as good as Lamar, but you know what I mean. I just think that with longevity, I think that teams are going to be able to catch on to him so easily. I think he's going to take hits. You know, that Cardinals offensive line, it's better with the extension of DJ Humphries than drafting Josh Jones, but it's still not one of the best in the league. There's just an hourglass with guys with his skill set. I don't think that you're going to see any 20-year dynasty with Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. I think that both of those guys will probably be relatively done in 5 years, if not less. But I just think that with being specific to Kyler Murray, I think he'll be all right this year. You know, I don't know if he's going to take the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. There's been some whispers of him being a dark horse MVP candidate. I do not buy it. I think DeAndre Hopkins will make
Would you have bought it if you heard Lamar Jackson last year?
What?
Would you have bought it if you heard people talking about Lamar Jackson last year?
No, I probably wouldn't, and I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I admit when I'm wrong, and if Kyler Murray goes out and wins the MVP, hats off to him. I'll be happy for him. I respect the guy as a human being. I just feel like as a football player and as a quarterback, I just don't see a long-term successful career. Maybe one or two more good years, but then I really think that if it doesn't happen sooner, teams are going to catch on, and the Cardinals will be back in the quarterback market soon enough. I know you both disagree with me. That's just my opinion. That's what I said before the 2019 draft. That's what I said during the season, and I agree with Jordan, and I think both of you said it. He did not deserve to win that Offensive Rookie of the Year award. You know, I was out, the day of the NFL awards ceremony because they just can't wait till it actually airs. They have to spoil it for us on the Instagram.
Yeah,
I still never understood that because it just makes less people watch the actual thing.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was like, okay, hold on, is this a meme page? I mean, that was just unacceptable. I hope that's almost universal outside of Cardinals fans saying that he didn't deserve that. I think that Josh Jacobs or A.J. Brown would have been better, but I've said enough. Say something before I find another reason to rant.
Yeah,
I'll say something. I'll say the two word Daniel Jones as we move on to the next one.
Let's go in order of where these guys are drafted. Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes. Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Danny Dimes is his trademark nickname now. Daniel Jones drafted, what was that, 5, right? Or pick 6? Yeah, pick 6.
He was pick 6, ironically.
Yeah. Well, we're not talking about Dwayne Haskins yet.
He was Haskins wasn't all the way to 15 though.
Yeah, I know. I just had to mention that. Well, actually, speaking of picks, he did throw a decent amount of picks. We'll get to that in a second as I had the stats pulled up here for Daniel Jones. But he had a decent year with the Giants. The team around him was not very good. Evan Ingram was banged up the entire year. Saquon Barkley also had a long injury as well. So there wasn't that many weapons, and that offensive line also not very good. They did draft at the offensive line position, getting to tackle Andrew Thomas. So hopefully that'll help out Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley in the future. So being honest, Daniel Jones didn't have much help around him.
Yeah.
He didn't have the greatest season, though. I mean, he scored a decent amount of touchdowns, and he got a decent amount of yards, too. Didn't start right away, but he came in there pretty quickly.
He had more touchdowns than Murray did in less games.
Yeah. He scored 24 touchdowns.
Also had the same amount of interceptions, though.
And 12 interceptions, which he was basically throwing to Darius Slayton and Golden Tate. I like both of those guys, really, but they're not great yet. Golden Tate's probably towards the end of his career. I think Daniel Jones would be a decent player who was absolutely looked at as a reach when he was grabbed at pick 6. People thought Dwayne Haskins was going to go. Ryan was going crazy with this. I think we all were going crazy with this, to be honest. But I think now getting that tackle on Andrew Thomas, hopefully Saquon Barkley will be healthy. Hopefully Slayton and Ingram can stay healthy as well. I think that he's got a good group around him. I don't think this team is going to be great this year. No. I think they're going to be picking towards the top.
Probably in the top 10 again,
to be honest with you. But I still think that Daniel Jones had a decent year. I think he'll minimize the interceptions and maybe get the touchdowns up. He had 3,027 yards, which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So he had a decent year, but he just needs to clean up some things, especially in the interception. And this is very important with Daniel Jones. That guy does not know how to hold on to a ball for his life. If you're thinking about fumbling, this guy has...
I don't have the stat for fumbles.
I'll try to find it real quick, but I'm sure he's probably got like 80 of them.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, you go, and I'll give a stat for fumbles when I find it.
Yeah, and I think with Daniel Jones, I'm kind of surprised that, that the media and the meme community, I think they let the Giants off the hook quite a bit for reaching for Daniel Jones last year. And, I mean, it was a reach, but, other than, you look at who was available. Dwayne Haskins still has stuff to prove. Drew Lock, he did good things, but in a smaller sample size. So I think that because none of the other rookie quarterbacks that were taken after them have really, sprouted fully and started becoming really good starters, I think one of them will. We'll get to him later. I think that's why we're not seeing as much of the kind of, meaning of the Giants selecting of Daniel Jones, but I think as we see the success of someone else in a little bit next year, I think that'll come back. But anywho, after my meme analysis, I think the fumbles are a problem with him, but I do want to give the Giants props. He reached last year for a quarterback, but you said, hey, we're smarter than the Cardinals. We're going to build around this guy and not give up on him too quickly. We're going to build our system. We're going to upgrade the offensive line. They drafted a lot of offensive linemen. I think they got 3 in the first, I don't know, was it 5 rounds or something? I'm not sure, but they got at least 3. And they got Andrew Thomas, who I love. That was probably the pick I got most excited about during the draft when it happened. I was, sitting there anxiously. Will they go Simmons? Will they go tackle? I just heard the word Andrew, and I was like, yes. They got Matt Part and Shane Lemieux later. Love those picks as well. So I think it will help him, and it will help Saquon Barkley. But Daniel Jones, he started 2-0 in the start, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, Dave Gettleman is a genius. Everything's fine. And then I think he went 1-10 his remaining starts. So still stuff to prove. Still got to kind of shake off that bust status. But with an improved offensive line and the healthy Saquon, I think he at least has a shot to do it.
Yeah, it's really a tough evaluation, like we've been saying. 61.9% completion percentage. Kyler Murray's was 64.4%. Let's move on, and we'll talk about these guys a little bit faster. But let's move on to the Redskins pick in Dwayne Haskins. This one has not been a good rookie year for him. I'll read the stats, and they kind of speak for themselves. 58.6% completion percentage, 1,365 yards, 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and that was in a 9-game span. So it was not a dream rookie season for Dwayne Haskins at all.
Yep, and this is similar to the guy we just talked about, Daniel Jones. The Redskins basically had nobody there around him. Terry McLaurin was basically the only person on that team that really did much of anything, and he was a rookie. So let's just go to say they also had Trent Brown out for a decent amount of time, so they didn't have the help. The Redskins' offense was just very, very messed up last year. They really had no help, only scoring the 7 touchdowns and throwing 7 picks as well, and really struggling in his first few games. Did not have a good start in general. I think he'll improve, although I think they do need to get some more wide receivers. They did draft some, I know. But they need to give him a few more weapons. I don't think next year is going to be the year for him. I think he's still got 1 more year to grow. I think that whole team has still got 1 more year to grow. Maybe that defense will get better with Chase Young, but I think that offense is still going to struggle a bit. Dwayne Haskins should do better than what he did last year, but I don't think he's going to have that transition just yet. I think Ryan has some different opinions on this because he loves Dwayne Haskins. So.
Before Ryan goes, I just want to mention, this is a new team, new head coach, and maybe for the first time in a while, the Redskins organization might be one that is worth a dang in terms of being able to develop players. So this could be a really good year for Dwayne Haskins, or a big step up. We'll see.
Yeah, and you look at the situation with Dwayne Haskins. It is similar to Daniel Jones in some ways, which you say, okay, who did he have around him? Not much. Terry McLaurin, that's just about it. The offensive line wasn't good. Not many other elite skill position players. But something that I really think you have to also take into account with evaluating Dwayne Haskins this rookie year is, first of all, there were rumors before the draft that the Redskins were supposedly divided on who to draft, that there was so many mixed opinions. So, like, when Dwayne Haskins was the selection, not everyone was thrilled about it. That was just the rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. That just things
that sounded pretty legit to
on
me.
Draft day. What was that?
That sounded pretty legit to me, that rumor.
Yeah. And also remember that he had his coach fired, what was it, 5-ish weeks into the year? So,
yeah.
Even if he wasn't,
he was not in a good situation at all.
Yeah, he was just in a bad situation all
He was on
around.
the brink of being fired for a long time.
The coach gets fired, has to do the whole thing with the interim head coach. Now he's got to learn a new system with Ron Rivera, so that's, 3 coaches he's been under in, less than a calendar year pretty much. So that's just, it's just such a unique situation. And, I will say that, he didn't have the greatest rookie year, but I think that Ron Rivera, a good coach, I think that Ron Rivera is committed to developing Dwayne Haskins because we didn't see the Redskins other than if you count like trading for Kyle Allen, but I think that's as a backup.
Yeah.
I think Ron Rivera is committed to developing Dwayne Haskins, and I'm happy because you know how I feel about the giving up on quarterbacks after 1 year. Way of thinking. So I think that he'll get better. I think he still has room to grow. He was my number 1 quarterback coming out of that draft class. He's got a lot of time because, limited sample size. So I think that he'll continue to get better. Might not happen in one big leap, but I think we're going to start to see steps forwards with him.
All right, let's land a few more off quickly. Let's go to the next one in Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos. Now, we actually just made a video before this on the Broncos with a deep dive into them. So if you want to hear more about Drew Lock, go watch that video. There'll be more intense stuff in there. For this, we're just going to go kind of quick. Since this video is already getting kind of long, we still have some more quarterbacks to name off. With Drew Lock, I like what he's done. I think he's had a pretty good start with the Broncos. Didn't start right away, had the injury to start the season, but he has a lot of weapons around him. I think he is set up for success. He has a great arm. I think that they're Drew Lock and loaded. I keep using it. I'm not going to stop, and it's fun.
Yeah, we'll go through it quickly. Like I said, if you want a bigger analysis, go watch the Broncos deep dive. Played 5 games, had 1,000 yards in those games in total, 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So I really did like what I saw from Drew Lock, to put it short, and I think he could have a tremendous second year in Denver.
Yeah, you look at those receivers they brought in, as I said in the other Broncos video, sophomore of the year was an award. I think Drew Lock would be the favorite to win.
Yeah, and then later on in the draft, we're going to go through some lesser guys and then get to one guy that was not lesser than some of these guys, but we'll talk about it in a second. We just want to mention the names Ryan Finley and Will Greer. It didn't go well for either of them.
I think it's rest in peace for them being starters at this point, because
they had their
Teddy
chances,
Bridgewater and Joe Burrow have moved into their spots.
Yeah, so it doesn't look good for them. But who does look good for is a man named Gardner Minshew. Maybe not the team that he's playing on, but the fans really seem to like him there. He had himself a good
guess what?
rookie year.
Trevor Lawrence might be taking his job soon now. So
that's true.
I was just gonna say that. So, if they're in a position where they could draft Trevor Lawrence, then Gardner Minshew probably didn't do too well. So I agree.
Yeah, but that's one to mention. Obviously, the mustache man. I got the stats here. 60% completion percentage. He played in 14 games. Mix it up with Nick Foles. 21 touchdowns and 6 picks. So it's not too bad. And before we end this video, I had one more. Okay.
So this guy is actually one who has not played yet, but it's going to be an interesting story. It's Jarrett Stidham of the Patriots. That's an important one to talk about, because who knows what the Patriots are going to do at that quarterback position. Heck, we might not even make a video about it because we haven't done one of those yet. That should be a fun video if we decide to do that. But we don't know what the Patriots are going to do. Jarrett Stidham is on that roster, as well as Brian Hoyer and somebody else that I don't remember. So it's probably going to be Hoyer and Stidham going against each other unless they bring somebody else in. Maybe they'll bring in Cam Newton. I doubt it, though. I think they're going to stick with one of these two guys. So it'll be an interesting guy to see in the future. When he played a bit in preseason, I don't remember seeing it too much. I think he did okay. Not great, but okay. So whoever is going to step into that position has some big shoes to fill after Tom Brady was there for that long. So that's just an important mention. Maybe we'll see Jarrett Stidham this year. I think at some point we might.
I think they're committing to Jarrett Stidham. It feels like, because they could have gone other directions.
Or drafted a quarterback.
Yeah. Before we close this video up, I do want to go through and just give our new rankings as of right now, if you guys are fine with that. Like, of the quarterbacks, if you want to do that. I could do that first, just to show you what I'm talking about. So after watching their rookie years, I would say Kyler Murray would be my first quarterback. Then I would go Drew Lock at number 2, Daniel Jones at number 3, Gardner Minshew at number 4, and Dwayne Haskins at number 5. Those would be my top 5 after the first year. Do you guys want to do that or no?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. But are you talking about, am I just evaluating their rookie year, or am I saying, all right, from this point on?
Put them in order, like where you think they're gonna be, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, I'll go.
So I'm doing future. Okay, so
I'll go.
Number one, as far as like the future, I think Drew Lock's future is so bright. Like, they better have sunglasses there in Denver. It's so bright. I gotta think about this. I was prepared for this, so I just gotta think.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say Dwayne Haskins. I'm going to stay faithful to him at number 2. I was high on him before the draft. I think that it might take a while, but I think eventually he will get to a point where he can be a solid starter in the league. Then, number 3, I'm going to go DJ Daniel Jones. I think that with the upgrade on the offensive line, I think he'll get better. I think if Saquon Barkley's healthy, I think that's really important for him not only to have a blanket in the run game, but also as a receiving back. He can do some great things. And then number 4, I'm going to go Kyler.
Okay. You've talked enough about
number
him.
5, give me the mustache man as he tries to keep Trevor Lawrence away from Jackson.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go quickly. I'm gonna go Kyler. Then I'm gonna go Locke. Then I'm gonna go Daniel Jones. Then I'm gonna go Gardner Minshew. Then I'm gonna go Dwayne Haskins.
So you had the same as me. Yep. So there it was, guys. There's our re-evaluating of the quarterbacks from last year's draft. I hope you did enjoy that. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell. Comment down below what you think of these quarterbacks. And with that, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.